Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to the Athletic HQ here in London, England. Welcome to you wherever you're watching around the world. We are here for the conclusion to this January transfer window. The deadline is 11 o'clock UK time, so we are less than half an hour away. We're going to be going all the way through the 11 o'clock deadline and just giving you some details of the deals that are yet to be done and reflecting on some of the big deals of the day. We're going to be talking about the likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, also Dele Alli, Aaron Ramsey, Fabio Carvalho, for example, the arrival of Frank Lampard at Everton, Donny van der Beek as well, also arriving at Everton. And we'll be reflecting on some of the stories developing in the EFL as well. Just to give you a quick insight into the situation that we're in now, it is beyond 9 o'clock, and what clubs would need to do to ensure that they get a little bit more time to get deals done is to submit a deal sheet. And I'm quite thankful that I haven't been banging on about deal sheets until right at the end of the window. But there are some deals that will come into the deal sheet territory. And if you didn't know already, the deal sheet allows a club to confirm that a deal has been reached in order to allow for additional time to submit the remaining documentation for a deadline of 11 o'clock. A deal sheet cannot be used until after 9 o'clock and needs to arrive fully completed before the transfer window closes. And then once that sheet does arrive, the clubs have got another 2 hours or until 1 o'clock in the morning in which to submit the full paperwork. We're going to be hearing from David Ornstein very, very shortly indeed. Whole host of other reporters as well. We'll be talking about Carvalho from Fulham to Liverpool with Caoimhe O'Neill, Peter Rutzler as well. Dominic Fifield's going to be joining us, and also Nancy Frostick as well, talking about the EFL. Chris Waff as well, who we started today talking about Newcastle and the hopes and the dreams and all the megastars that are going to be arriving in this trolley dash. Hasn't quite gone to plan, but have they got enough, Newcastle, to survive in the Premier League? Big deals in England, one mega deal in Scotland. Let's talk about it now. Jordan Campbell is here, our dedicated reporter on Rangers here at The Athletic. Big deal. Aaron Ramsey is a Rangers player. I mean, it's obviously it went through, in the last hour or so? There he is. He's not wearing that silly black and white shirt anymore. It's the blue shirt of Rangers. It's a massive deal, this, isn't it? Massive deal.
And I think you've seen the reception he got at Ibrox, hundreds and hundreds at the front door there. I think that probably explains his decision to come to Rangers. It's not financially one of the biggest clubs in Europe anymore, but there is still that allure for players like Aaron Ramsey, where his career's maybe taking a bit of a dip, and he gets to come back now, be a big fish in a small pond, and try and, I don't know, become a legend in 6 months, but he can certainly go a long way to making his mark and helping Rangers retain the title. But I think it's a massive statement from Rangers in the title race. Celtic have invested 23-24 million in their squad this season to completely replenish it, and I think, the results at the weekend was maybe a bit of sense that Celtic will have the momentum going into the second half of the season. But I think this signing certainly changes things. That is a game, yet to be seen whether it's a game changer. But if they can keep him fit, then I think you look at his CV. He's got it's just an incredible signing when he's only 31. This is not a guy who's 37, 38 and is finished and on his way down. He'll still be coming in here thinking he can take the league by the scruff of its neck and be a game changer. So no, I think it's one of the most exciting signings in Scottish football history since the turn of the century.
And the financial details of the deal, have we got an insight into how they've managed to get him over here?
Yeah, so obviously I think, Aaron Ramsey's reported wage, and Juventus is well known now. He obviously signed a 5-year deal back in 2019. I think Aaron Ramsey would never have been on Rangers' list. He wasn't on Rangers' list as a realistic target, but towards the end of the window, when teams are trying to get players off the wage bill or they're trying to make room to change their squad, I think teams who are actually aware of what's going on in the market can then tap into that, and I think that's what's happened here. He had plenty of options to go either across Europe or in England as well. I think some clubs did reach an agreement with Juventus, but Rangers, there was reports in Italy saying that there's going to be a £2 million fee to get them to the end of the season, but I'm told from people at Rangers that it's still within the wage structure. So that means that it's an affordable signing, which is surprising to many because you look at the wages on at Juventus. But I think they were just happy to move him on. And Rangers have taken advantage of that. But I think it's a 6-month deal to the end of the season. They'll be hoping to get as much out of him as possible. I don't see this being something that then goes into a permanent deal. It's probably unlikely given the wages and the fee that would then command. But I think for 6 months, if Rangers have got him and without breaking the bank, I think it looks like a terrific deal for them.
And just a final quick point. The dynamic does change with the Athletic on deadline day, but there's always the deeper reads and the insight and the analysis that pop up at,
one already,
at the right time. You've managed to do one already.
Well, managed to.
Just a brief synopsis for people if they want to read it.
Yeah, so Adam Owen was his fitness coach at Wales for 9-10 years, and still a close friend of his who he's worked with while he's been at Arsenal and Juventus, and says that he thinks it's an incredible signing and thinks that there's no reason to be worried about his fitness because if he's managed properly, and I think he thinks that Rangers, if they look after him as an individual rather than maybe what's happened at Juventus, that they'll be able to get the best out of him. He said he's a top athlete who will outperform everyone if he's at his very best. But it was killing two birds with one stone actually, as he also gave his debut to the right back they signed today, so I was able to speak to him about that as well. Matthias Zakowski, who's came in as a deputy for James Tavernier and obviously replaces Nathan Patterson, who went to Everton. So I think Rangers have ended the window really strongly. They've got the right winger in Amad Diallo they needed. They've got the attacking midfielder, the big name they want in Aaron Ramsey, and they've got the backup at right back. So looks unlikely. I'm told it's highly unlikely that John Souttar will join this window. Obviously, still around 20 minutes left, but I think Rangers came back in today after 2 bids were rejected maybe 5 or 6 days ago, but looks like they're still a bit apart on the fee, so it looks like he'll be joining in the summer. But yeah, it's been some end to the window for Rangers, so I think you see the reaction at Ibrox. That'll probably be the same for fans across the world now.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice one. Jordan, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Indeed. You crack on, and let's move on, and we can allow David Ornstein to join us, because it is a busy time. We have, 22 minutes to go until the deadline here in England. As Jordan mentioned there, the Scotland deadline, incidentally, is midnight. I'll tell you a little bit later on about some of the windows that close beyond the UK's windows, which may well come into play if you ended up with a lot of players in your squad and you can't fit them all in. Looking at you, Watford. Right, let's talk about what's going on with you, David. Great to see you. It's been a long old day. First up, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. What's happening with him?
Well, this appears to be finally moving towards a conclusion that I would call positive for everybody, because Arsenal, frankly, didn't want him there anymore after what has happened over the last couple of months. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang didn't want to be there anymore after what's happened over the last couple of months. And Xavi, Barcelona's manager, wanted to sign him as his priority to spearhead their new look attack and play in the number 9 role. And despite the deal being on in recent days, which I've got to say, us at The Athletic as a team have been at the forefront of, and it's been a lot of different people contributing, especially our Arsenal correspondents. The dramatic twist today when the deal pretty much collapsed and he was going to be flying home from Barcelona, where he was on a family trip. But we've got to be fair to him and say he would have known that if the deal was going to go through, he was in the right place. He does have family residence there. So it was a double benefit. And I don't know exactly why it nearly fell apart, but I think that was actually the catalyst to get it to the point we're at now. That kind of shook everyone into shape. And those who were resisting or causing issues on any side of this, we don't know the exact ins and outs. There are 3 parties. There's many people involved. They saw sense, and it's quite a remarkable deal because everybody was expecting a 6-month loan deal, and then he would come back in the summer and they would have to sort it out. But it's turned out to be a 6-month deal followed by a 1-year deal. And many people will say, well, what does that mean? Well, for the next 6 months, Arsenal are going to pay a bit of money towards his salary. He's going to take a bit of a hit on his salary, and Barcelona are going to put a bit into the pot as well, and that will be his earnings. When you get to the summer, it's going to be a new agreement between Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Barcelona only. Arsenal are out of it. He will take a wage cut and get paid a lower salary by Barcelona. That takes him to the summer of 2023 when his Arsenal deal would have expired. So it's essentially a free transfer. He's undergoing a medical tonight. He's going to sign his contract if all goes to plan. And he, if they get there in time for the deadline, will become a Barcelona player. And that is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's Arsenal career over. Started in January 2018. Guided Arsenal to the FA Cup behind closed doors in 2020. Mikel Arteta's big moment as Arsenal manager. He's carried them on his shoulders. I think he scored 92 goals in 183 appearances for Arsenal. I think he scored 7 in 15 across all competitions this season. He's been banished since the start of December for arriving late back from a club-sanctioned trip abroad, which was to collect his unwell mother from France. He's been training alone, stripped of the armband. I don't think there was any way back for Mikel Arteta. I don't think there was any way back from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And we now appear to have the most sensible conclusion on the cards.
And it is a big departure from Arsenal. In terms of a teammate now that he'll have, unless anything changes in the next couple of minutes, Ousmane Dembele, who was being linked with a late move, to all sorts of different places, but potentially over to the Premier League. What are you understanding in terms of whether he stays in Barcelona and this is just a summer job now, or is there still a chance?
So the relationship between Dembele, his representative, and Barcelona has pretty much broken down because Barca want him to sign a new contract. He wasn't showing an inclination to do so. I think it got quite bitter to the extent where they said, well, we're going to have to sell you then. He said, I've got 6 months to go. It's on my terms. I'll do what I want. If you want me to leave now, let me go for free and pay me up the final 6 months of my contract. Otherwise, I'm going to stay here until the summer. Play me, don't play me. I'll then make a move, which I think they've got lined up. Whether it was going to be this January or in the summer, they'll probably know where they're going by now, most likely. So Barcelona started trying to offer him around to try and entice him to take a deal. The likes of Tottenham were offered to him. Apparently Arsenal and Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain and others. But either they didn't want to do it. They've got concerns over his injury record, maybe issues with him in his career that have not always been ideal for the clubs he's played for. Or he rejected the chance for the reasons already mentioned. And so he's going to be staying. The Aubameyang move, if it happens, is not contingent on departures. Furthermore, he is very good friends with Aubameyang because they played together at Borussia Dortmund. So, Barcelona have somehow made their finances work. They've made their squad places work. We'll probably find out in the horror stories in years to come about the debt and the carnage inside. It's a very different looking Barcelona to that which we've seen in recent history, isn't it? But hopefully Xavi will make it work.
We will see. We are 17 minutes until the deadline. I'll let you shoot off and gather some more information. And then we will join David a little bit later on, around about 10 past 11, just to wrap up this transfer window. Right, where are we going next? We are going to Newcastle to find out what is going on with the richest club in the world and whether they've got the players that are going to keep them in the big league, in the Premier League. Chris Woff, our dedicated Newcastle reporter, been with us in every show throughout today. So we're all there with Target today. Burns not done yet, is that right?
Well, it basically is done, as my information. They just haven't actually announced it yet. So that could be in 11 o'clock. They may even announce it in the next couple of minutes. Dan Burn will sign. Finally, Newcastle will have a centre-back. They've wanted a new centre-back for 4 years. They haven't signed one since 2018. So that will be done. But the problem Newcastle are going to have, the one area you think they may be a little bit short is they didn't get that final attacker through the door that they wanted today. They were started the day where they had a bid accepted for Hugo Ekitike, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. Basically, the player himself wasn't keen on the move in the end. I wasn't sure of it. Actually, Dan Burn has literally just been confirmed right this very moment, so we can say that Dan Burn is a Newcastle United player now. He returns home, born in Blythe, which is Northumberland, just a few miles from Newcastle, a Newcastle fan. So that's an emotional move for him. But yeah, Ekitike didn't happen, and then also a late move for both Lingard and then also a call for Dele Alli. Neither of those moves happened in the end. So Newcastle maybe one attacker short, but overall 5 signings this month. They've done a fair amount.
They have indeed. But do you think those signings that they have brought in, are they going to not necessarily appease the Newcastle fans, because anyone coming in after the Mike Ashley era is going to appease the Newcastle fans in a way, but Burn, Guimaraes, Trippier, Wood and Target, is that enough?
Well, I think compared to previous windows, as you say, Mike Ashley, there'll be very little business actually done. Newcastle have done significant business. I think that they have strengthened. They certainly look stronger now than when they started the window. The one area you'd say is they still do look a little bit light for goals. Wood looks short of confidence since he's come in. They didn't get Lingard or Ekitike. That's the one area of concern. Newcastle haven't scored enough goals recently. Do they have enough creativity to be able to sort that out? Only time will tell. But certainly the amount of money they've spent and the ambition that they've shown is far better than what was there in previous windows from Newcastle United.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. We're just watching that announcement video of Dan Burn at Newcastle. Interestingly, they've put a cameraman at the top of the stairs and put Dan Burn at the bottom of them, and they're still basically at the same eye level, which is fantastic. He is a big signing in many ways for Newcastle, and we wish him well on a homecoming deal. So, Chris, thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's move on to another deal, which is going the distance, and it has been one that we've been talking about throughout the day. Caoimhe O'Neill and Peter Rutzler are here to tell us about the two sides of Fabio Carvalho. He is leaving Fulham, Peter, the club that you cover in depth, and he is heading to Liverpool. Caoimhe, you cover Liverpool in depth as well. So, right, where do you? Who wants to start? The player that
I don't know where to begin. To be honest, it's been such a long day.
There has been, we had an article not that long ago explaining how complex the situation has been, and it has been a battle for this deal to get done. I mean, Peter, from your point of view, why do Liverpool want this player in particular?
Because he's a really exciting player. He's a natural talent. I think this season he's really shown that he can be a player that goes quite far in the game. He's become quite a key part of Marco Silva's high-flying Fulham, who are scoring a lot of goals at the moment. He's got 7 of those, 4 assists as well, I think, in the league. He's only had about 20 senior appearances to his name. He's been one of those players that's been looked at for a long, long time. And he burst onto the scene last year when he made his Premier League debut under Scott Parker. I think it was against Chelsea, and then scored on his first full start against Southampton. I think at that point, everyone sort of knew that this was going to be an exciting player. But he's another one that Fulham have managed to let slip through their fingers a little bit, because his contract's up at the end of the season. And as you say, it's been a complicated last few months. Lots of speculation and uncertainty about his situation. He's changed his agent during that time. There was a lot of focus on January because that's when he could switch. And now obviously it's come to a head, and Liverpool have swooped to basically head off the competition and avoid that tribunal at the end of the year.
And what is the structure of the deal, Caoimhe, in terms of what we know in terms of figures? Is he going to be going back and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, we certainly know that there's an agreement in place now. That's one of the things we've got to. And then what's been talked about for the past couple of days is a loan back option. Fulham, I think, were keen on keeping him for the remainder of the season, no matter what. And it seems like they will do that. I think that's important to them, obviously, in getting promotion. And obviously, Fabio, if he does, if this deal does get across the line, he'll arrive at Liverpool in the summer. That's sort of our understanding of it at the minute. But obviously, there's still, we understand there's a medical taking place in London tonight. And there's still personal terms to be agreed. So it's not quite there yet, but we're expecting, it should be sort of getting over the line sooner rather than later. But I think there was a breakthrough a few hours ago between obviously the clubs in agreeing a deal for him. And, it just feels like a massive move for Liverpool to get such a young talent to add to the likes of Cade Gordon, Harvey Elliott, who was obviously at Fulham. The future seems bright when you think of those players, even the likes of Curtis Jones, who's, played a lot already for Liverpool. And then obviously on the back of signing Luis Diaz, who's the future now as well. So it's, been an exciting transfer deadline day and just transfer window in general for Liverpool fans.
So we're expecting this is a deal sheet job, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks that way. It does look that way at this point. Not the only one between the two clubs either, because the two clubs are in talks about signing Nico Williams as well.
Is that a sweetener of in some sort? Is it essential for Fulham to bring in a right back?
Well, they've let a couple go on loan during this window. Steven Sessegnon's just joined Plymouth as well. There's been some uncertainty about Dennis Odoi today as well. Kenny Teta's picked up an injury. He picked it up against Stoke. So it was a position, I think, that Fulham looked at in the summer. They nearly signed American fullback Reggie Cannon. That deal on deadline day didn't get across the line. This one is going to go right to the wire again. I feel like this is the Fulham slot at this point in the evening. It's where Fulham come alive.
There's a lot more going on than that as well.
Fulham, there'll be more to come, I'm sure. But yes, so that's where we're at with that. That's definitely going to be a deal sheet one. But with Carvalho, I think we're pretty confident that's going to go through once all the terms have been ironed out. And yeah, it's a good move for Liverpool really because of that competition that there has been, because there's been so many clubs looking at Fabio, and we'll see what the fee is. And I think from a Fulham fan perspective, they want to know how much they'll actually get for a player who probably, if he was under contract, would command quite a high fee. But in the circumstances, with the risk of potentially compensation in the summer, which if it went abroad, it'd be a lot lower. If they can head that off, get a good deal, then maybe it will mitigate. And if Fabio Carvalho can help Fulham get back to the Premier League, then at least he'll leave with that legacy too. Obviously, with Harvey Elliott, he emerged and disappeared almost as quickly. So there's a slight difference between the two. But
what are we expecting that fee to be? Do we know?
We don't know the exact fee at this point. We haven't got it confirmed anyway. Enough for me to say it on here. But I think initially Liverpool were prepared to pay 5 million. I think the fee will be higher than that. It would just be a case then of comparing what that may be to the compensation fee down the line and what the structure of the deal is too. Because for a player like that, you're looking at further down the line. He's only 19, so his best years are ahead of him.
Right, Peter, Kiva, thank you very much indeed. We'll let you head off back into the newsroom to wait for this deal to be finalised.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Cool. You can feel free to head off.
Very much.
You can come and go as a thing. It's absolutely fine. If anything happens in the next 20 minutes or so, pop back in and join us. Right, let's speak to Dominic Fifield, who joins us live.
I've lost you. Sorry, guys, I've lost audio. I can't hear you, Adam. I'm now lip reading.
Dom, can you hear me now?
Got you. That's better.
There we are. There we go. Right. So what I said was, having covered, Frank Lampard extensively in his playing days, also his managerial career at Chelsea, do you think that he's the right fit at Goodison Park?
Yeah, he can be, definitely. I mean, I think it's the right time for him to go there. He's been out of the game for over a year now, a little over a year. He'll be hungry. He's still ambitious. He still wants to achieve at the top level. This will be a very, very different challenge to anything he's faced so far, either at Derby County or at Chelsea. Very different demands initially as well to steer Everton clear of trouble. But yeah, he can be the right fit. I think the sentiment that he's got going there to bring through the youth as he did at Chelsea, that will come to pass in time. But initially, it's about rebuilding confidence in a squad that's been underachieving quite badly of late. I think he can certainly do that. He will revitalise the place, and he's already made some pretty canny signings in the market, but also with his coaching staff. To have Paul Clement in there, I think is quite a shrewd move early on. Bit of experience, somebody who's been there and done it with Carlo Ancelotti in particular, but also managed himself. So there's a bit of strength to that coaching setup as well.
In terms of one of the players that has been brought in by Lampard, I'm not sure necessarily if it was directly by him, because I think people were talking about Donny van de Beek heading to Everton before that it was known that it was definitely going to be Frank Lampard. But obviously, Crystal Palace, a club that you know well, were also in a battle to try and sign Donny van de Beek. Why do you think that he is towards Goodison Park rather than Selhurst Park?
I suspect the noises and the messages he received from the suitors probably swayed him towards Everton more. I think there was certainly some doubts within Crystal Palace's hierarchy over whether that was a deal they wanted to pursue. It was quite an expensive loan for a relatively short period of time, and Palace are well stocked in midfield, and with players like Iberici Eze looking to get back into form and playing games again, I think it might have blocked his pathway into the first team. So Palace weren't particularly bothered, I think, by losing Donny van de Beek. But with Everton, they needed reinforcements in midfield. They needed creative attacking players in that midfield in particular. And I think it's perfect move for him. Like he's relatively local down the road. So it's not upping sticks or anything like that. He will fit into that system. He is a technically gifted player. We just haven't seen enough of him in the Premier League. 4 Premier League starts since he moved to Manchester United at the beginning of last season. So hopefully in that Everton team, which will be more expansive under Frank Lampard than it was under Rafa Benitez, certainly, if you can throw in a Donny van de Beek and potentially Dele Alli in there as well, then yeah, there are goals in midfield all of a sudden.
Yeah, let's deal with Dele Alli. Obviously, we had a little bit of a curve ball that started to sort of arrive, what was it, around about sort of 7-8 o'clock, and maybe Newcastle might try and hijack the deal, but it sounded as if Dele Alli to Everton was almost too far gone for it to be derailed. You were mentioning there Donny van de Beek not playing enough for Manchester United, not getting his opportunity. The Dele Alli Tottenham equation just wasn't adding up anymore, and this makes sense in terms of giving a player an opportunity to start afresh. But there's still a lot to prove, isn't there, for Dele Alli?
Of course there is, but then he's still young. He's still got plenty he can achieve in the game. You just desperately want him to rekindle the enthusiasm and to feel wanted again and to feel integral and part of the team. And yeah, if it works at Everton, they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, they'll be getting a player with so much potential, and I think we've only seen a glimpse of the potential that Dele Alli might have on the game in this country. It's just about getting the attitude and just making him feel as if he should be there, and he's a key component of the team. Fresh start's an amazing deal for Everton as well. By the look of things, if it genuinely is, I think £10 million after 20 appearances, and they've only got 18 games left this season, given they'd be cup tied in the FA Cup, then Everton won't even pay a transfer fee until the summer, at which point they can reassess where things have gone and how successful it's all been. It's a fresh start that he needs. It's a good signing for Lampard. It's quite a first full day in the job for Lampard, to be honest, to pull that one off, having also taken training, presumably. I mean, that's fairly impressive and a decent start, I'd suggest.
And one quick sentence on a deal that did go through at Crystal Palace today. It's the confirmation of a loan move or a loan move that's been made permanent for Mateta. Is that a big deal?
It's a surprising deal. If you'd gone back a month, you wouldn't have thought that was going to happen. But for the price that they've negotiated, around £8 million, I think that's a fantastic move. They've also signed Luc Plange. I'm going to go French, Plange, from Derby County for around £1 million. I think he'll go back to Derby on loan for the rest of the season.
They have taken the Plange. Fantastic. Dom, thank you very much indeed. We will catch up with you on the next deadline day. We really appreciate you coming on and joining us. And that is almost that for the January transfer window. We have more to come. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere, but we did just want to hit the deadline for you in the UK. It closes at 11 o'clock and all the deals have to be done. And that is now the deadline hit, 11 o'clock here in the UK. And the transfer window is officially closed. So all the deals need to have been done unless teams submitted a deal sheet from 9 o'clock onwards. And that means that you have additional time to get your remaining documentation over. I feel like I'm talking to the clubs directly here. If they weren't aware of it already, I'm sure they are. And then once that deal sheet arrives from any time between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, you have until 1 o'clock in the morning to then get your full paperwork done. And we will find out relatively soon from the Premier League how many deal sheets have been submitted and how many deals are yet to be done, because it all comes down to registration for the clubs. And then those squads, those 25-man squads, have to be announced as well. And there will be a few deals, the likes of Dele Alli, for example, the likes of Fabio Carvalho, another one which we've discussed. And there will be a few other random ones here and there that will pop up, I am sure. I'll tell you about the other deadlines around the world at the end of the show. We'll also be catching up with David Ornstein as well, just to round up what we've seen in this transfer window. But I wanted to just get a take from Nancy Frostick, who covers in depth the EFL for us here on The Athletic. You know, we cover the Premier League football in depth, dedicated reporters, 20 reporters all the way through. Obviously, we cover the big players as well in the EFL. And one of those teams that has been very, very impressive indeed on this deadline day, Nancy, has been Bournemouth, who have done some fantastic business today. They have been exceptionally busy, haven't they?
Yeah, they've had just about as good a deadline day as you can have, really, in the Championship, I think. We've not seen loads of money flying around in the EFL, but it's kind of not a surprise given that not a lot of clubs actually have that much money at the minute. So, but Bournemouth, you know, they've spent money today, but it's not been over the odds considering it's January and it's deadline day. But yeah, they've got Freddie Woodman on loan from Newcastle, and they kind of needed competition for Mark Travers because Oyen Island's injured, and I don't think he'll be in their sort of 25-man squad. But other than that, it's going to be, I think, a bit of a challenge for them because they've got such great depth in that squad now. They've signed Dembele from Peterborough, Kiefer Moore from Cardiff, Nat Phillips has come in on loan as well. And when I joined this, I don't think they'd officially announced Todd Cantwell, but it might well have happened since I joined this school because I think it's been ticking along for most of the day and kind of is pretty much done. So yeah, that, like, as deadline days go, that's incredible, and they've pretty much addressed, I think, everything that they probably wanted to there. Sets them up well for that promotion push, really.
Yeah, it really does, especially when you look at Nat Phillips in particular. You know, he was being offered around, as we understood it, a few weeks ago by Liverpool for £15 million, and then to pick him up on loan is a real deal for Bournemouth. Another deal that I was very impressed by, and it really does it is a statement of intent from Nottingham Forest. Obviously, they let Lyle Taylor go, but they brought in Sam Surridge from Stoke, someone who just needs an opportunity to play week in, week out. And this is a great chance at the City Ground and a club that's moving in the right direction, and a bit of money spent as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked with Steve Cooper before, I think, so that will obviously be a big plus point for him. And, you know, there's no team probably more in the groove at the moment than Forest in terms of how they've been playing. I know they lost yesterday, but other than that, they've been, been absolutely flying. And what an appointment Steve Cooper's been. So, yeah, it's sort of, again, they've kind of addressed, I think, pretty much the two areas that they needed. I don't think they've got a winger in because Blackpool are keeping hold of Josh Bowler, but pretty much they've done well as well, and it'll be pretty important for them to kind of keep this momentum going if they're going to get that playoff place, and they'll only be stronger for those additions they've made.
Nancy, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, just to give us some of the big stories from the EFL on this transfer deadline day. We are going to be welcoming back David Ornstein just to wrap things up after the window closed in a few moments' time. But just some of those big deals and some of the things that are still outstanding for you after this deadline has passed at 11 o'clock is that we're expecting Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's deal to Barcelona to go through. There was talk earlier on that maybe he was going to be heading back to Arsenal, but that isn't the case. And a deal has been agreed in principle, and that will effectively see him join Barcelona for a 6-month period and then kick on for another year. There was also talk as well earlier on of Ousmane Dembele, who Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang played with at Borussia Dortmund. You'll remember under Thomas Tuchel, maybe being grabbed by Chelsea late on in this transfer window. However, it appears that despite the fact that he has fallen out with Barcelona and his representatives have fallen out with Barcelona, that he will be staying now, and he has 6 months left on his deal, and we will see what happens in the summer. But there will be plenty of suitors for him to try and rejuvenate his career once again. We're still waiting, obviously, for confirmation of Dele Alli heading from Tottenham to Everton. And there are a few other deals bubbling as well. Fabio Carvalho, as we mentioned, heading from Fulham to Liverpool in principle and in spirit, but probably going to remain in the Championship, spearheading or helping at least Fulham's push for promotion. And then elsewhere, the big story of this transfer window has been the huge cash injection into Newcastle. And they got some deals done relatively early. Obviously, their first one was Kieran Trippier, and then they brought in Chris Wood. And then there was a little bit of a delay. Then they brought in Guimaraes, and everyone thought that that was going to be the catalyst to really see them spend big towards the end of this transfer window. They have managed to get some more deals done. Matt Targett coming in from Aston Villa, and Dan Burn was confirmed, I think it was pretty much 5 or so minutes before the deadline. And that is an important one for Newcastle. It may not be a big glamour signing, but he is certainly a big centre-back, someone that can also play out in a full-back position as well, which will give them cover there. But mainly they wanted a central defender, and they do now have that central defender. And he has now arrived, and he will be available for the remainder of the season. There is just a couple of extra things I wanted to tell you regarding when the windows close beyond today. Obviously, the English window is closed. There is still time until 1 o'clock in the morning to get those deals done, as per the deal sheet, as we mentioned. But beyond this, if you have got a squad that is rather heavy and you haven't been able to get players out on loan, for example, or sell players that are literally surplus to requirements, there are some opportunities to sell players to other European countries, other world leagues as well. February the 1st, the deadline closes in Mexico. February the 2nd, the deadline is in Portugal. February the 8th in Turkey. February the 10th, Australia. February the 22nd, Russia. And also the final window I'm going to tell you about is February the 28th in China. So there is an opportunity. If you do still want to sell some players, you can sell them to those respective markets. Last opportunity for me before we join David Ornstein to let you know about the deal that we have for you watching at home. And I hope you've enjoyed the coverage today here. But obviously, we've been telling you about the breaking news throughout the day, but also some of the deeper analysis and interviews and insight that we offer on The Athletic all year round. You can take advantage of that deal today, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, theathletic.com/deadline day, and that will give you a 50% off discount for new subscriptions. Right, let's wrap up where we are in this transfer window that is now closed. And everyone can just relax a tiny little bit. Obviously, there's still work to be done. Don't worry, we're not slacking. But David Ornstein is here. So has anything kicked on beyond what we were talking about, 20, 30 minutes ago? Because it does sort of reach a sort of, oh, yes, I think we're there before 11 o'clock. People were keen to let people know that things are done. Has anything sort of popped up that you weren't expecting?
No, I mean, we received the confirmation, I think, on Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
Is it Luke Plunge?
Yes.
Take the plunge.
Yeah.
On his deal to Crystal Palace. We've not received the Arsenal news yet, so forgive me for looking at my phone just to find out if the Aubameyang deal has been completed, announced. I've sent a few texts, nothing yet, but of course, provided they've got all of the appropriate documentation done in time for the 11 o'clock cutoff, whether it's deal sheets or the like, unless, depending on termination of contracts and things like that, technically, if Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the free agent that Arsenal are sort of suggesting, then that may make the terms slightly different on when you have to do things by. But I'm sure there will be some kind of announcement, and that's why I'm hurriedly looking at my phone, but nothing yet. We'll see what happens. Liverpool and Carvalho from Fulham I don't think that's been announced yet.
No, it hasn't. There is some suggestion, and I'm not sure about this, but we might have to just get maybe Peter or Kiva back. I'm sure they are looking into this, but there is some suggestion online
that it's off,
that maybe it is off. So we will have a look.
Wow.
At that in detail. It is being suggested that is actually off.
Well,
and after all the work, all the work that has been done on that deal, and it's been going on for, well, almost since the last transfer window, that a deal was being worked on intensively. They have been working on it over the last couple of weeks. It looks, we haven't had this confirmed at the Athletic yet. I'm sure that behind that door that I can see in front of me, Caoimhe O'Neill and Peter Rutzler are digging into this very, very deeply as we speak. So we might be able to bring you up to date with that.
You've got to look at again, forgive me for looking at my phone, but the news is coming as we speak. And these are local reporters who are very well respected on the patch in Merseyside, who you would assume have dealt with the club on this. And they are in unison reporting that the deal has fallen through. It's off. And without knowing the full details just yet, I would suggest that it was left very late. It's a player who's out of contract in the summer. So he had strength because he can go as a free agent and have his pick of clubs. His representatives would have had strength. Fulham would have put up a fight, their last chance to get a fee. Liverpool would have wanted to cut it down as fine as possible because he's only got, it's 4 months of football to go. It's not really 6 months, is it? And I mean, Liverpool were scouting him quite heavily.
Yeah.
Their chief scout, Barry Hunter, was pictured at Craven Cottage recently. When things like that start to happen, it can cause disruption. That's why clubs such as Liverpool, who normally do it so expertly, never get seen. They're always under the radar, like with Luis Diaz. When things come out, people start getting involved. Different agents, different clubs are alerted, like they did with Luis Diaz and Tottenham when that deal came to light. And, you know, although these days that when we're doing this, we say we've got hours to go, it comes around very quickly. And if you haven't got your ducks in a row and you've got influences around these situations that are potentially causing disruption, then it can bring deals like this down. And that is what appears to be the case now. Yeah,
and we're going to keep a close eye on it, and it will obviously develop. And look, if it doesn't go through, I mean, we did write a piece about the Carvalho situation being so blooming complicated,
right?
Not that long ago, so it might not come as a surprise to a lot of people that this has actually fallen down. But you can bet that there will be another piece on the situation and how it did unfold, and if it has indeed fallen through, why it fell through, and where that leaves the player, where that leaves Liverpool's interest, all that sort of stuff. Right. Just in broader terms, quick word on Newcastle, because they were the big story heading into this window. Cash rich, deep pockets, all that sort of stuff. Just very quickly on Carvalho. I am hearing from a source who is close to this deal that it is off. The deal is off, and this is someone that should know. Peter Rutzler is also messaging me saying, yes, the deal is off. So we can confirm it here at The Athletic that indeed Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool from Fulham is indeed off. And do stay tuned, because we will tell you about the story in the coming days, because it will be very interesting indeed. So as I was saying, Newcastle, we were expecting big things. They did bring in some big players.
Big.
Do you think big players? Dan Burn. Yeah. I mean, do you think that they have? I asked this to Chris Woff, and he said, look, anyone coming in will have been enough, because they didn't sign anyone under Mike Ashley.
Yeah.
Do you think that it has delivered the signings that the hierarchy there will have sort of visualised?
Wow, that's
and
do you think
that they're sensible signings?
I don't think they were all the signings that the hierarchy would have envisaged, because as we reported, revealed on The Athletic throughout the month, their first choice centre-half pairing, for example, was going to be Sven Botman from Lille and Diego Carlos from Sevilla. They were going to pair them together in what would have been an all-star cast at the centre of Newcastle's defence. They didn't get either of them. They ended up with only Dan Burn. By contrast, I don't think they were prioritising Bruno Guimaraes from the start, and they managed to get an amazing deal done there for a very decent price, a great age and physical technical profile, international footballer for Brazil at a much not bigger club than Newcastle, but at a club more prominent in European football in recent years. Joined Lyon in January 2020 and has shot to prominence. Kieran Trippier, I would say potentially one of the signings of the window. I think he's a very dependable fullback, a great character to have around the squad. I mean, you could see him taking the captain's armband at Newcastle in no time. Dan Burn has been dependable himself at Brighton. He surprised a lot of people. I don't think he would have been envisaged by Newcastle, but character was key to Eddie Howe. He was really determined to bring in personalities, good influences on the dressing room, people you can go into the trenches with and try and get out of this scrap. They failed on Ekitike, who was a clear target. Was it from Reims during the entire window? Chris Wood would no way have been envisaged by the ownership. There was talk of Mbappe and Haaland, which is ludicrous, but that's the sort of player that your money can get you when you're on paper the richest club in the world. So I think they've had a mixed window. And by the way, I like Chris Wood, but I do not.
Do you need to take that call?
I might, quickly.
Go and take it. Go and take it. David, say goodbye, because
bye, everybody.
David Ornstein has left the building.
Are you okay?
We are going to wrap it up there, because there is still work to be done here at the Athletic HQ. But we have been able to confirm that news regarding Fabio Carvalho in the last few moments, that deal is off from Fulham to Liverpool. Also, we do understand that deal sheet is in, as we were expecting, for Dele Alli's move from Tottenham to Everton. And there are a few other deals still yet to be confirmed as well. The deal sheets are in, and they have until 1 o'clock in the morning. And our news team will be here bringing you the stories as they break up until that point. And then you will, and this is often the most intriguing, because you find out those little tidbits of information they did make a bid. Oh, they did try and get that player. Oh, it fell through. Oh, why didn't they get him? Why didn't they get that? And that is where the Athletic really does come into its own, because we will follow up all the stories. We'll find out exactly what happened with those players. We'll find out about things that we don't know about now. And it will be really, really interesting, because you'll go, wow, they tried, they failed. And it will obviously then set the narrative for the remainder of the season for your side. Well, whoever you support, I hope you did get the players that you wanted. You may well not have done, and it may well have a big impact on the remainder of the season, but we shall see. We appreciate your time today, all the way through from our first show at 8:30 this morning on this deadline day. And we will be back in the summer transfer window doing it all again. But thank you very much. And don't forget that deal at the bottom there, theathletic.com/deadline day. And you can pick up your 50% discount on a new subscription. And we look forward to many of you joining the Athletic family. Thank you very much for your time today. Take care.